club anyway, we've done a great job of eliminating useless filler words like and ah. Those don't count, Carla. Now you'll notice that we often call attention to some of our other favorite filler words like now, and so. Some of you may have even included reducing your use of them in your spring plans. What you may not know is that there's a story behind how now and so came to be at home in our club. Once you know the story, you'll understand why it's so easy for these words to creep into our speech as filler words when we're not paying attention. If you listen all the way to the end, you'll also discover the two forces that are powerful enough to overcome them. Please join me in welcoming Stacy Schwan to tell us the story of how now and so found a new home at Toastmasters. How now and so found a new home at Toastmasters. Stacy Schwan.
Once upon a time, in a kingdom far away, all the words in the English language lived in peace and harmony. In this kingdom, the words spent their days together creating beautiful works of poetry and prose. There was only one law. It was that all the words were equal. All that is except for two pseudo words that seemingly had no meaning or purpose whatsoever. Their names were and ah. None of the other words in the kingdom liked and ah, for they really weren't legitimate words at all. Only dull-sounding syllables that spoiled any sentence they tried to join. Whenever and ah showed up, the poetry stopped. One day, the rest of the words got together and decided to banish and ah from their kingdom. So they packed them up and sent them on their way. Finally, the rest of the words were free to make beautiful prose once again, without interference. As time went on, however, some of the remaining words began to think of themselves as somehow different and special. One of these words was the word now.
I am such an important word, boasted Now to himself. I'm immediate, I'm powerful, I'm bold. I make any sentence more current and compelling. Not content to be considered equal with the other words any longer, Now decided to leave the kingdom to seek his fortune elsewhere. Another word that thought herself special was the word so. However, so was not proud like Now had been. Instead, So was worried because over time she had witnessed some of her kinfolk grow outdated and fall into disuse. Words like thus, whence, and ergo were now considered archaic and hardly ever made appearances any longer. I must create more uses for myself so I don't suffer the same fate, So said to herself.
Because this plan would not be looked upon favorably by the other words in the kingdom, So decided to follow in the footsteps of Now by leaving the kingdom to search for another land, a land where she would never go out of style. So felt a bit anxious about leaving the kingdom, so she asked her friend Anne to go along. So greatly admired Anne's versatility, and was also very clever for one so small.
Come with me,
So implored Anne.
you and I can be a team.
Yes, concurred So. We'll call ourselves And So. And so off they went together. few days later, and So arrived in a great land populated by millions of English-speaking people. Deciding that this would be a good place to settle, immediately they set out to find a community of words that they could join. However, as they listened to the people on the streets talking to one another, they were shocked to discover that and had already moved in and become very common here. In fact, and had practically taken over the speech of some people altogether.
Oh dear, said So to Anne. Whatever shall we do now?
Just then, Anne saw now on an opposite street corner going into a building.
Let's follow now and see what he's up to,
Anne said.
So be it,
Replied So. Entering the building, Anne and So saw a sign that read, Toastmasters meets here. Looking closer, in small print underneath the sign they read, no ums or ahs allowed. Now had seen Anne and So come through the door. He missed his old friends and happily went over to greet them.
Come in,
Bellowed now.
What is this place?
Inquired So.
Why, it's a Toastmasters meeting.
Now proudly stated.
People come here to learn to speak boldly and confidently. They learn to communicate their ideas with eloquence. It's a marvelous place for words like us.
We noticed a sign near the door that says no ums or ahs allowed,
Anne said.
Yes,
Confirmed now. These people are very smart.
and they do not wish their speech to be cluttered with useless and dull-sounding filler words. They've worked diligently to exclude and ah from their meetings.
Brilliant!
Blurted Anne.
But what about us?
Sputtered So.
We came to this land because we wanted to play a bigger role in language than we did back home, when all the words were equal. Not to worry.
No, now reassured her.
You see, unlike and ah, we are real words with real meanings. We still have our rightful uses here, but it gets even better than that.
Now lowered his voice.
Now that and ah are gone, it's easy to sneak into the holes that they left behind and act as filler words too. We just crawl up under the lectern, wait for any slight pause or hesitation to open up in their speech, and jump right in.
Anne and So were delighted to hear this news. They decided to unpack their bags and declare this to be their new permanent home. There's just one danger, however, cautioned now. He glanced both ways and then whispered, there are two powerful brothers we must watch out for. They don't show up very often, but when they do, they completely command the room. If they ever decide to take over, our days here would be numbered. Just then, as if on cue, the door swung open, and in came the two brothers, their forceful presence filling the space. Do you know who they are?
Pause.
I'll tell you. Their names are Pause. Oops. Pause.
And period.